increase of the 2025 budget. So I'll hand it over to Dan, and he'll briefly explain our budget and as the reasons of the increase.
All right, yeah, our budget, no doubt, is going to increase, and I will try and highlight the areas in which that increase is going to occur, so you can simply be knowledgeable about it. Just generally speaking, Wells County supports 27 different individual departments or special revenue type funds, and some of them stand on their own 2 feet, others work out of various funds that we have here in Wells County. But we have been flat and or declining in our mill rate in my short time here at Wells County, which is now into its beginning its 4th year. This year will be different, no question about it. Biggest change in our budget, which is anticipated to increase by 11.55 mils overall, and over $500,000, $580,000 to be precise, is a change in a capital projects fund for Wells County, and that is to enable us to be able to match various grants that are made available either to the state of North Dakota or to the federal government for infrastructure improvements, so think roads and bridges in those particular cases. Best example I can give you is a bridge that we anticipate replacing in 2026, a couple miles north of Feznan on County Highway 1. Certainly won't be the last one. It's the bridge over the James River, which is anticipated at this time, I can't say in 2026 what it'll be, but the anticipated cost of that is $2 million. So a county such as us, if we're going to get funds from the state of North Dakota, whether those funds come via the federal government or truly from the state government, will require us to provide a 20% match, which is roughly $400,000. So collecting $250,000 a year for a glorified savings account to enable us to be able to match those grants is something that will be critical going forward, because this is not the last bridge. In fact, for those of you that attended the public forum in Harvey last night, I have a feeling that bridges are going to become the bane of our collective existence in Wells County in the future. And people who live out in rural areas or who travel, whether it's to get to market or to get where they need to go, depend upon being able to cross those rivers in reasonable areas. And we're never, ever going to be able to replace all of the infrastructure that once existed in Wells County, but to be able to replace that which is important for commerce, for recreation, for just basic travel needs is going to be important. So there's $250,000, which is about 45% of the new request for that particular purpose alone. Going back historically, that money has always come from the general fund, and the general fund simply does not have the capacity to continue to fulfill those needs. Other changes in here, the general fund is also seeing an increase of about that same amount. The reason being is primarily the road department needs, and the road department, we've looked at that and has lost, it was averaging when we went out and spoke with the townships this summer about $50,000 a month. This last month, if you've looked at your information, again, it was $60,000 this past month, and it has kind of consistently, that's become the new number that we're behind there. And that any overruns in that particular area come out of the general fund, which is why the general fund needs some support at this particular time. In addition to that, and these are much smaller, I shouldn't say that $75,000 doesn't matter, but that is the county's new contribution to the county library, which was voted on in the June election. And so that's another $75,000, and then a very, very minor one is our county's Veteran Service Office, which has always just been funded out of the general fund. We have created a tax levy for that. It's only about $0.25 but it does fund that as opposed to taking it just out of the general fund. So all in all, looking at it on paper at this particular point with a valuation of $47,464,348, the budget I am proposing as a mill rate of 92.41, which is an 11.5% increase in the mill rate, and a sum total of $4,386,210. So that includes the $1,047,000 that we pay for Garrison Diversion and the State Medical Center as well. So with that in mind, I have created the budget and placed it in front of you. I still have to go back and review everything to make sure everything is kosher in here, but by and large, it's got your expenditures in there, your revenues in there from all of the various departments, and so on and so forth. So with that, I guess I will entertain, or the commission will entertain your comments or questions.
First off, any commissioners have any comments? The one little thing I'll talk about is these bridges. Can't we get by, can't repair? The state of North Dakota has a set of engineering firms that are specialized in bridges that they come out and inspect these, okay? They tell us what to do, or they'll tell us that the one southwest of Harvey, they just shut down. I mean, get it barricaded within 3 days. And the one north of Fessenden now is a restricted weight, so they'll tell you what to do, and you gotta abide by that. We really don't have any say in the matter. We can't get by because those are their rules. So that's far and away the biggest elephant in the room as far as long-term expenditures are bridges, because the James and Cheyenne River cross a lot of roads in Wells County. Hearing that, any questions?
I just have a question. You talk about bridges. Do you have a priority list in the county that you've chosen, like the first 10 bridges that are where they stand and
we get bridges. There's a bridge inspector that comes every 2-3 years, or I don't know how often, and if they say it's good, it's good. It's not on the list. It's just fine.
What I'm asking is, do you have a copy of the list? I mean, for the public to have. I mean, obviously you can't replace every bridge in the county currently. You just said that.
No.
I mean, it's going to be a long-term process. So do you have them hierarchy now where they're at?
Well,
and I mean, are you going to close some bridges, for example?
Invariably, some will have to be.
So,
okay, so in the last, we'll say, year and a half, there are 3 bridges that were brought to our attention originally. One that's just south of Harvey, right by Doug and Christy Pike's place, and 2 that are just northeast, of Fessenden. Not the one that's on County Road 1, okay? Those are considered off. They're not county roads, they're township roads, etc. Those can, if they're granted funding, can be replaced at 100% of the cost. So the one that's going in south of Harvey, no cost to Wells County. Okay, that's nice. Okay, the 2 that are north and east of Fessenden were also slated for that. All right, luxuries to be sure, because in a 5-mile stretch between Highway 30 and County Road 1, there are 2 crossings in between there. Is that truly necessary in rural Wells County? And I would guess most of us would even concur that it's a luxury. Okay, but if they're going to fund it at 100%, what does it matter? Okay, when they come out and put restrictions on the bridge over the James River on County Highway 1, that became priority number 1. And so the first thing these guys did was ask if they can shift the funding for those other 2 bridges to the priority. And we were granted the capacity to do that, which means those other 2 bridges now take a back seat, okay? But by putting putting it on our network, in this case, a county highway, now we become responsible for 20% of it. Where they would have paid 100% for these other two bridges, which they may still do, they're still backlogged, I suspect, at 27 and 28, someplace in there. The priority became what is way more important to Wells County, its residents, and so on a county highway to do that. But that's where the need for the $400,000 comes to match that grant. So if you're asking for a priority list, that's priority number one right now.
I'm just looking for like a 10-year list. 10-year list, what kind of bridges are you gonna have to
They get
replace?
inspected, and if they're good, they're good. How can you explain it? You can't say they're gonna get bad in 5 years. Some of these bridges are 100 years old, no, not 100, but, well.
All the ones we inherited that are on the Garrison diversion, those are all 40 to 45 years old.
But the ones that we're talking about
Yeah.
here are probably 80 to 90 years old.
Yeah.
And they inspect them and they say they're good. You can't hardly anticipate they're gonna go bad 5 years from now, or how do you know that? So to answer your question, no, we don't have a list of.
DOT has
Yeah.
an integrated map, and if you look at it, Wells County is like a poster child for what's right in North Dakota. You look at all the bridges that need to be replaced in North Dakota.
Well, McHenry County, probably.
If you go west of here, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So North Dakota is going to have needs. Wells County is certainly going to have needs that are not going to go away.
See what happens.
And state funding is restricted as far as why can't we do these bridges just next year? Well, all that bridge money's used up. So, right.
See, what happened was, for a long time, there was not much going on in the bridge inspection department. And all of a sudden, somebody woke up. The bridge is going to get replaced southwest of Harvey. I don't remember the age of it. It's never been inspected in its life. Nobody even knows what it was like when it was put in. They said it's sagging enough that they have to be replaced. Nobody has history of that. And so, all of a sudden, this big rush comes to inspect everything, and they go out there, and now everybody's panicking because there really, a lot of this stuff, there's no history behind it. But they came in and said, well, we gotta do something, it hasn't been done. So that's part of the reason why you hear this bridge thing is, all of a sudden, it's just, everybody's going goofy about it.
Well, and you maybe saw in the news here a year or two ago by Sawyer or something where
Yeah, I've been on that bridge with
air cedar kind of crossed and it fell in.
Yeah, and the truck was way overweight. It was way overweight. Yeah, I've been on that bridge.
Okay, part of the reason too is the state wasn't getting their bridges inspected, and they called in a third-party inspection service, and it was just, that's it. It's chiseled in stone, that's the way it's gonna be, there's no two ways around it anymore. Once the third-party group came in here, that's
They were
where
out of staters.
they started condemning the bridges.
They were out of staters, cause I talked.
Third party.
You got something against out of staters?
No, but they were out of staters and they
I'm
were
just
down.
kidding.
I know.
They came in and did their job, and that's it. That's
Right,
it.
the end of the road, yeah, there's nothing we can do.
Any other?
My question wasn't made to decide, I mean, why are we replacing the bridge? I understand that. I'm just thinking that if there's the Garrison diversion, if there's 10 bridges along the Garrison diversion, obviously we can't afford to replace all 10, so which 5 are gonna get replaced eventually? I mean, that's what I'm asking.
We really
long
don't
before
know.
reaching.
We really don't know. And it's fair to say what that list is going to be like because it is based on an inspection of when they come around. But I will say this, the priority will be county roads first. We're not responsible for Highway 52, Highway 3, Highway 30, Highway 15. Those are state or fed type deals, okay? We're responsible for everything that's on a county road. And that is the priority. And obviously, if it's paved right now, you can reasonably deduce those would be priorities over those gravel
And
roads.
the other priority we would have is, we would take a look at it as to how much it's used. Obviously, the pavement north of Fessenden, because of the Hamburg elevator, that's a big deal. That is a main thoroughfare. You know, if it's a township road someplace that's rarely traveled, that'll be a lower priority, sadly. But any other questions?
Down in my area by Terry Rex Senior, taking out that bridge down there, putting a couple pipes in. County fined the pipe because they're 6 foot. why can't the county have some kind of guidelines on how these are need to be put in? Instead of leaving up to the townships, because, from what I'm hearing, the way what's gonna get done, this thing is not gonna get packed in properly. And it's the next big heavy rain, more than likely will be replacing the pipe again. If we're gonna be spending the money for the pipe, we should also be setting some guidelines on how they should be installed, so that we don't have to repay for these pipes again in the short future.
That's a very good point. It's a catch-22. It's pretty much townships are in charge of their area, but that's a good point.
You know, cause I heard that they weren't gonna take out the sidewalls in this bridge and drop the pipe in, which leaves not enough space to drop dirt in alongside of it. And how do you pack below the round? You can put dirt in there, you can't pack it.
You know, I think Brent and the contractors that they deal with give these guys guidelines, but we're sounding like we're passing the buck here, but ultimately townships, they're the boss, you know, and we do give them guidelines. Any other questions? Yes.
Were there any other increases in the budget?
Well,
I think Dan gave all the increases.
soil conservation shows an increase, but, they're still well below their threshold, but, yeah, they had an increase this year. However, most of the rest of the budget is reasonably flat. I don't see a whole lot of changes from a prior year, which probably wasn't a whole lot of change from years before that.
So like salaries and things like that were flat?
There's increases there, but it isn't necessarily reflected, and that's why the mill rate changed.
Okay,
Salaries went up 4%.
thank you.
I really highlighted the biggest changes, and that obviously $275,000 in the general fund, which is primarily regarding the road department. And when we met with all of the townships, and this has been something we've been talking about for a considerable length of time, it isn't gonna be one strategy that's going to fix that. It's gonna have to be multiple things. So part of that was the general fund. Part of that is, you know, we're not going to be able to buy the equipment we've been buying in recent years. Part of that is gonna be the townships are gonna have to take some ownership in funding something that, to our knowledge, it varies all across the state of North Dakota, but we're the only county of 53 that provides pro bono services to the townships in terms of their roads. And we don't expect them to foot the entire bill, but they're gonna have to become at least partially responsible for some ownership in that. And then, as I mentioned, the DSO office, that's minor. The county library, 75 grand, that's not minor. And then you see a change, it looks like about 23,500 in the soil conservation department. Other than that, the changes otherwise would be very negligible. There's an increase in the historical society, but we're talking about really small peanuts there. There are 5 mills that are maxed out. 2 of those we have no control over, Garrison Diversion and the State Medical Center. The just aforementioned County Historical Society is maxed out, that's a quarter of a mill. Our road department is maxed out at 14 mills, and senior citizen is maxed out to collect $80,000. So those are the ones that are maxed out. The rest of them, there are some that are close, but as a county, based on what could be a maximum mill levy, we're still only at 76%.
Any other questions? Sure.
I have a question, just so I understand. The Garrison Diversion goes underneath Highway 1. There's a bridge there. So when that bridge comes up for replacement, is Garrison Diversion responsible for that?
No,
Federal?
all those bridges were turned over to Wells County years ago.
Oh.
They are ours.
Yeah.
Thanks for building that. So,
Any other questions?
And Ron is from back.
Okay, not. Thanks for your input and for coming for this part of the meeting. Let's adjourn, is that a separate meeting with the Robert's Rules of Order here?
It didn't, it's all part of this meeting. I give them another chance, or you can ask any questions that you might want. I am gonna, it's on our agenda here later, obviously, to approve budget. Do you have any thoughts?
Any other thoughts? We beat this Dutch budget. Right.
Okay, we've been losing some deputies again. What's the story with the,
Let's, Chris is coming in at 9, hopefully, and we can, I mean,
I just meant for the budget end of it, being that there's not much going on there, I'm just curious.
I know, we got 2 resignations. Okay, anything with that? All right, then we'll just add on to the next part. Any additions to the agenda? Hearing none. Do you know if Chris is coming in at 9? Or?
He's been informed.
Okay, 8 minutes. Motion to approve the regular meeting minutes in September.
So moved.
Moved by Doc, second.
Second.
By O'Brien. To clarify, that's not being derogatory, we got old Brian and young Brian here, so that's the best way to explain anything. Yeah, glasses Brian, non-glasses Brian.
Brian was an aye, Brian was a one.
Time sheets, any,
Did you get a?
oh, all of them papers, yeah. Opposed. Carried. Any time sheet irregularities? Okay. Bills, take a look at the bills, any questions on those? We haven't got the big one yet, have we?
Yep, it's in there.
Is it? They sent that the day the paper had to be wet yet.
Should be one in there for $1.5 million.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't have all, it is
Second
not,
page on the top.
the bill is not final yet, because they still have their retainage fee that will still have to be paid, and some different things related to that, plus engineering services and so on. So we're not done paying for it yet, but the largest portion of it is.
1.544 million. Top of the second page. We're at House Bill 1066.
Second column.
Second column.
So it's pretty much right where they were thinking their top.
Yeah, it'll be a
Your
little
estimate.
longer because they did not put that fog coat on there.
Right, we saved 60 grand on that.
That will be offset by the millings that we purchase. So that'll pretty much be a wash. We'll save a few dollars.
It costs that much for our milling?
Well, not that much, but
But it's out there. What's Flint Hill Resources?
I'm sure that's the millings right there.
Really?
Flint Hill is your oil for the seal job they did, I'm sure.
That's another piece of it, yes.
All right. Any other questions on the budget?
Look how cheap engineering is.
Yeah, you haven't got the bill yet. Give me that cheap crap. What's that? I don't think that's part of this project. Oh, yeah, no, that was the time they spent putting the 2 ads in the paper. I'm serious, that was the we haven't got the post yet. Correct, Dan?
Here's the time sheet.
I'm being sarcastic, but the 11,000 is for the work they did before the bidding and such, right?
They send bills willy-nilly. At the end of the day, I expect them to all add up to the amount that they said they were gonna charge.
Or less.
We literally get statements and invoices from them about twice a week.
Really?
And that will be a conversation, because I come from a government world before this, where you pay bills once a month. You can send us 14 invoices if you want, you're still only gonna get paid one time.
Well,
Why do you, they must have a person, that's all they do for certain projects, is just push this stuff out. It all comes in email, none of it comes in regular mail, and we get multiple.
what the heck? And there's an explanation for the bill?
And this is no different than True North Steel, where culverts come from. I'll bet you I've gotten 10 emails from them in the last 2 weeks, and every one of them's got an invoice in it.
Really?
So,
The the downside of emails. I mean, it's just easy to send.
Yeah, if they had to put a stamp on it, maybe they would do it differently. too.
Well, and combine them all, I mean, it'd be more efficient, so, anyway, any other questions on the bills? Hearing none, motion to approve. Young Brian, motion to approve, seconded by Bode. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Balance sheet, Dan?
Well, you have it there, there's no real big changes. Obviously, when you look at this, this is at the end of September, this is September cutoff. If I've never been clear about that, so all of the bills that you're holding in your hand that you just approved are not reflected on here. This is as of the end of September. So this is your current balance sheet. So you still see that there's $1.954 million in House Bill 1066 line, near the top of the page. Most of that just got spent, and the rest of it will go out shortly in engineering fees and so on. So this will have a major different look when you come back here for your November meeting at the end of October. Again, the only portion of this budget that really stands out, obviously, are the same ones that we look at on a regular basis. The one exception to that rule, that county agent fund is, you know, we fund a lot of those things out of our general fund, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Further down on the agenda today, you're going to be asked to approve the funding arrangement between Wells County and NDSU, and I'll explain that at that particular point in time. But obviously, this is not a self-funding department, okay? So as a result of that, this is getting paid, but it's getting paid out of general fund dollars, and it's being categorized probably the way it has been for years and years and years, but that's never gonna become a non-negative number without a revenue shift. Okay. So, if you look up at the road fund, you see a negative $64,000 on one line, you see a plus 4,400 on another line, so essentially that's a net $60,000 loss again this past month in our road department. So that's why, obviously, the changes to the general fund and the budget that we just took a look at, as well as potentially getting the townships involved, plus the county not being able to necessarily afford to spend at the same rate that it has in the past. But other than that, it's very much normal to what you have seen in prior months.
Right, then we need approval of signatures for the CDs and investments. Motion to approve that. I mean, obviously it's down, but Dan took the 1.9 million out of CDs to pay for County Road 5, so that's why it's less. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Doc, second by Boone. Any other questions on that? All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
One little takeout mix-up was pretty bad.
Well, we're getting to the end of the year too now, so it's gonna be less, there's no tax. The positive side, you maybe can add to it come January 3rd again, when taxes start coming. Any correspondence, Dan?
Couple different things. First of all, there's an element in your packet that comes from the North Dakota Department of Transportation, and this really and truly is for more than just the county commissioners. This could be anybody in Wells County. The DOT is requesting assistance to identify locations within the county where rail and highway crossing safety could be improved. And that's essentially what they're reaching out for. Evidently, there's going to be some grant money associated with improving safety at railway crossings. So if you know of any such particular place, and I don't know what that would be, particularly not on county highways, because there aren't a whole bunch of county highways that pass over.
So this all roads or just county roads?
Well, it uses the word highway. And as a result of that, I believe that means paved structure. There's a few, but most of the crossings that we have that are on highway are on state highways. But I'm sure those would be elements for this too, but I'm going to guess that most of the safety features that could be incorporated on those particular crossings are already there. Right. So, but anyway, that's there, and then the other part of this, and I'm gonna go way out on a limb and say you probably received this, but you did receive an invitation from Wold Engineering during NDACO convention in October.
Yeah.
You guys all got that,
Yeah.
correct? So that would give you another piece of correspondence that I have.
All right. Portfolios, Brian, young Brian.
Visited with Carla a couple days ago, and I guess everything's going good, I guess, in her office with Oliver and adjusting. And no news, I guess, to bring up there, and then, talked with Chris yesterday, and I guess had a long conversation, and I don't know if he's coming in, but he's supposed to be here, so.
All right. So
I have nothing.
for the audience out there, tell them who your portfolios are.
It's Carrie.
Recorder.
Okay, record. All right. Okay.
I have,
Okay. Things are going good then. All right, I have Jana, tax equalization, and Dan. Everything's going pretty well there. I think that office is doing very well. She has a very, very good assistant, and their bulk of their summer work is determining tax basis for which farm homes or which rural homes are exempt and which aren't. Definition of farms, you know, there's a lot of people that live out in rural areas that's kept it busy. So, and Dan, obviously, you know, I congratulate him, or not congratulate him, but thank him for putting on that meeting last night. The Eagles was very informative and, you know, was pretty well attended, so something like that needs to be done. So that's all I have, Doc.
I got county emergency management, everything's busy. County custodial, and Brent's got a whole bunch of stuff he'll put on you.
Oh, boy. Okay. And Ryan.
Fair board, they're gonna be working on millage this next week at the fairground.
Oh, okay.
And they're all kind of excited, there's a lot of instructions there. For, Brent, he's gonna really get
Yeah,
entertained.
15 bosses, but.
Yep,
yeah.
anyway, then, state's attorney is also my thing. We can be very thankful. Oliver is very diligent in what he's doing. He's very concerned. We can be very, very thankful. Wells County can be very thankful that we have him.
All right. Okay. Chris isn't here, Jason isn't here, we'll move on then. Some of this is just housekeeping stuff. Let's go down to 6, appraisal of Wells County properties in foreclosure. We need to set minimum prices. And basically in the past, what we've done is set the minimum price on these foreclosed items as the back taxes. Okay.
All right, if you do have a sheet in your packet, you're gonna have to dig down a little ways, because everything is in there according to the agenda, but,
I'm sorry.
look, on the top of it says notice of public sale at the top, and it's a front and back. We presently have 13 parcels in Wells County that are more than 3 years delinquent in their taxes, and as a result, as of October 1st, they become property of Wells County. Let me just give you a kind of a basic idea of how this works. Up until the end of the business day on October 1st, which was Tuesday, you could still come in and redeem your property. What you would owe at that particular point in time is your 2021 taxes. Okay? So if you came in and paid those, you'd still be delinquent, but you keep your property for no less than another year. All right? As of the end of the business day on October 1st, they become properties of Wells County. And as such, we have the authority to sell them at a sale which will take place Tuesday, November 19th. It's always the third Tuesday in November. Starts at 10 o'clock here at the Wells County Courthouse. Between now and 10 a.m., literally 9:59 a.m. on that Tuesday morning, the owner of the property can still redeem it. But now you have to pay your 2021s, your 2022s, your 2023s, and actually an estimate of your 2024 taxes, which are not officially even run yet at this particular point in time, in order to keep them. That's what this sale price represents, but the owner still has the ability to redeem their property, but they'll have to pay more than a year. They're gonna have to come up to date on this.
You have to pay like 4 years of.
Yes, and they do have to pay the recording fee because these have now become properties of Wells County, so it would have to be a deed that's re-recorded to put it back into their name. So that is the prices that you see in the right-hand column. Of these 13 properties, 10 of them are vacant lots. They're all over the county. They are all in a town. None of these are rural properties. Okay, and then the ones that are highlighted, you see one at the bottom of the front page, that is in Hertzfield, and if you flip the page over, you see another Hertzfield and Harvey. Those are the only 3 properties that have structures on them. One of them is the Hertzfield Cafe that's been out of business for years, and I have no intent to keep it. I've driven by the building, I've never been inside of it. It looks fine. I don't know if there's any useful value for it or not. The other is a house in Hertzfield. I have not determined, I can't determine if anyone lives in there at this particular juncture. And then the house in Harvey, no one does reside in that house. And ironically, in both of those 2 cases, every attempt to contact the owner of that property has failed.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, motion to approve these dollar amounts as far as setting a minimum price. I mean, we can do what we want, but
it makes no sense for you to be above and beyond that mark, and the reason being is you can't keep the money anyway.
right.
So it all goes to unclaimed properties in the state of North Dakota unless you can identify or contact the owner. The owner would be entitled to anything above and beyond the sale anyway. So what's the point? In fact, if they wanted the property sold, you're not real estate agents, they should just sell it themselves.
Your doc and I 3-4 years ago thought we could make the county lots of money. Okay, motion approved. Motion by Young Brian, second by Doc. Any other comments or questions? Fortunately, sometimes this list is longer than it is this year, so. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried. All right.
I got one more question on that. So if some of these do not get sold, a lot of times we turn around, turn them over to the city of where they're at. Right?
Correct, and we would transfer it to them for $1. The only thing that's in the public's interest is that those things get back onto a tax roll.
Yeah.
Now, I doubt anybody's gonna be developing property in Hamburg, North Dakota, okay? But, or, some of these other ones, but I'll come right out and say it, those 3 lots in Bowden are in a really nice area of town, but there's nothing on them. And, I mean, you could do something with that.
You never know.
So, and then the 2 that are empty lots in Harvey that just have an exorbitant price tag on them. One's $23,000, one's $24,000. Well, that's because of all of the specials related to raising the unkempt structure that was on that place and
tearing the
down,
building
cleaned
down.
it up, and
Okay.
so who's gonna buy a lot? I don't care where it is in Harvey for 24 grand. Nobody. Okay, so you're gonna end up selling that back to the city of Harvey for $1, and hopefully they can get somebody that wants to build a shop there or whatever and get it back on the tax roll.
All right.
all morning.
That'll give them reason to be here to write on it.
You talking Jason Mayfield?
Yeah.
Kent's coming too.
Okay.
You wanna wait
Thanks
till
for the
they
warning.
come?
You wanna wait till they come?
It doesn't matter, they should be here.
Well, start there. Okay, go ahead.
Morning. Okay, I don't know if you guys noticed this morning, but we got lots of culverts coming in. We unloaded those two big pipes this morning up by Mark Schmitz's. They came in for the water board, 270 footers, 72 inch. Water board will be putting those in shortly. I've contacted the contractor and Tammy is aware of it. Next week, we're gonna start milling the fairgrounds. The cement was finished last Friday. We wanted to wait for that one portion of sidewalk to be poured. I was promised it would be completed by the end of September, and it was. So we will start taking gravel out and putting millings in the fairgrounds. I will bring the experienced guys over, and it will take us a couple days, but we'll do it right. We wound up with 1,058 ton of millings, as you guys probably seen when you approved the bills, at $10 a ton. I can tell you that we got more than that. That we were using average truckloads, so I would guess we probably wound up with about 1,200 tons, but we wound up having to pay for 1,058. Last week, they did some more milling on Highway 52, and they had roughly 200 ton of millings, micro millings. They needed a place to put them, so they gave them to us. And when I mean gave, I mean gave. We didn't pay anything. They hauled them. So we did wind up with about 200 more ton of free millings, micro millings.
Where do you got all that?
All of them are out at the state shed, south of town. There's two separate piles, and so anyway, we intend to get that phase one of whatever we can get milled at the fairgrounds next week. We're gonna start on the south side of the grandstand and work our way north. And hopefully we'll get past the festival hall, maybe even the women's building, but we'll know more as we start taking gravel out and putting millings in.
Brent, along with that, is Hamburg elevator still have some of those?
When I don't know, because they called me when they were doing the Highway 5 project, and they told me, hey, we're gonna have 3,000 ton of millings now that we wanna get rid of. And I said, well, we don't want them for $10 a ton. And they kept saying, well, where are we gonna get rid of them? I put them in contact with the Hamburg elevator, with John Wood, and they were supposed to contact him, and he told me, I spoke to him personally, he said they would take whatever they could take. They didn't care about the $10 a ton. We took an extra 350 or 400 ton, and then the truck stopped coming to us, so I assumed they went to the elevator, but I don't have any verification on that.
So what are we gonna do with the extra?
Well, no, all that we have, our entire pile, can go into the fairground.
Well,
We can,
that isn't really what we agreed upon though.
well, we originally agreed upon trying to do almost the fairgrounds from the grandstands all the way to the entrance, okay? But we originally thought that we were only gonna get 600 tons.
Right.
Now we have over 1,000 tons. So if you only want us to put 600 ton in the fairgrounds and stop and leave 400, Mark Schmitz wants to buy about 45 or 50 ton. I have them earmarked.
That's the question. We had approved 600 ton initially. Okay, 60 grand's worth. Now we have this extra. Do you want them to put it into the fairgrounds, or do you want to sell it?
And it would, you're wrong in the 60, it's $6 grand. $10 a ton,
Oh,
600 ton.
Yeah.
If you sell it, you gotta make a profit.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people that had called me about millings. Brian Mache wanted millings in his yard, then he realized he wouldn't be ready for them, so he said he'd wait for the next round. Mark Schmitz wants some.
Well, yeah, I
You
know
know
how
what I
that
mean?
goes.
Right,
I
so,
think if we have them available and we could get them into the fairgrounds, and that's,
you know, we'll have a much better idea as we start taking gravel out and putting gravel in. I feel very confident that we have enough millings if we used everything we had out there except for the 50-something mark, to probably get pretty close to the entrance.
Have you sold any so far?
No, well, I bought 7 ton, or 9 ton, sorry, and Leon got 2. So that's the only 2 people have taken any milk.
Would it be fair to say that, going to the fair board and telling them, we got a little bit of extra, could you guys put a little pot too?
Good luck.
I know, but it still should be said.
Yeah, and they're meeting next week, I do believe,
Yeah,
and we'll be out there milling.
Yeah.
And I went to the last 2 fair board meetings and worked with these people on, but I'll tell you what, after we agreed on the 600 ton, and we kinda had them all happy as we could, then I went to the fair board meeting and they had all kinds of new ideas.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna put them over here, we're gonna put them here, and I said, well, we're gonna put them where the commissioners told me to put them.
Well, and that's why I added for clarification, because I'm sure it's in the minutes from the last meeting,
It is.
that we approved 600 ton, and now we just can't willy-nilly do 1,000.
Yeah.
Well,
We almost did that.
I'll present it at the meeting,
Yeah.
say, there's a little extra, you guys gotta get a little skin in the game.
But, we
Money
have a
also-
scale on our loader, so we'll be able to measure the tons that we're hauling to the fairgrounds, and we'll know when we get to 600 ton, and then it's just a matter of making a phone call, do you want us to keep going, or do you want us to hold on for it?
Some of that we got free.
I know, I understand that, but just letting them know.
Well, I really based on if there's a big demand, that we can recoup some of that money at 10 or 12 bucks a ton or what, but if there isn't, then you just can't pile them up, and use them 3 years from now.
No, they're
Then
already
we don't.
setting up.
Right.
And the millings that we got from our project on County 5 weren't micro millings. They're a little bit thicker than the millings we got a couple years, 2 years ago or over. There's micro millings and millings. These chunks are almost the size of some of your stones on your gravel roads, where the micro millings is fine, almost like sand. And they.
And that's better.
Yeah, obviously the micro millings are, I think that what we can do, what I intended to do is fill a lot in with the regular millings, and then sprinkle some micro over the top to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
That's my intention.
Okay.
You guys have all seen the Highway 5 project. I'm assuming that KLJ is coming today to give you updates on that. I've got lots of unbelievable comments, good comments, about it. Yeah, it's a nice ride. J&J Striping striped our chip seal yesterday. I spoke to Dennis last week. The only complaint that I got about how County 5 was they couldn't see after they painted that brand new yellow line down the center, when you got to our old highway, they couldn't find the yellow line. It was faded so bad. So we had J&J stripe all of 5. They restriped 5 because it was day and night difference.
Yeah, it
It'd
would.
be a safety issue.
Yeah, safety issue. Yeah. So they finished all the striping for Wells County yesterday, so I'm assuming sometime this month we'll get a bill for that. Jim told me it was right around $250 to $300 a mile to stripe. So it's not a huge bill. The culvert project over by Harvey, I actually approved some load passes yesterday from Tunheim. So I'm assuming they're starting to bring equipment in for that project.
There's a track coat down there.
Yeah, I signed some load passes for them, so, obviously KLJ will give us an update on that, but I think that we can maybe expect to see some action down there next week. Okay, but I haven't got an update, I just know that, wanted to let you know that I have been approving load passes for them to move equipment in. Sean, the new hire in August, has been in the 9th blade. He's been in, and he will continue to be in that machine until freeze up. So we are running 9 machines right now, and we have been for about a month. He's taken to it like a duck out of water. He's working with Gary this whole week, trying to get Gary caught up over in the cafe area. He has to be gone for a few days next week to go to Wisconsin, and then when he comes back, he'll be working with any machines in the sites in there. He's been working with our 3 youngest blade operators, and trying to keep them guys caught up. We did a bunch of repair yesterday to the Bremen shop. The hurricane force winds that we had on Monday started to peel the roof up, knocked the stovepipe down, did damage to the side of the building, And so we were down there mostly yesterday, reattaching sheet metal screws, putting stovepipe up for the furnace to vent outside, and it cracked the walk-in door. We purchased a new walk-in door, and that's in, and put a security light up. So we have been working in the Bremen shop. Jeff Puss is gonna be officially retiring in November. He has a letter he'll give to Dan. He's gonna work through the end of October into early November, and then use up some vacation days. And, sometime in, we'll have the exact date. We might have an issue with how much vacation he has left. I think there's been a snafu on his sheet, and then we'll meet with Dan and see exactly how many days. Because he gained a bunch of vacation this last one, and it's just a computer error. We'll get it taken care of. Then I'll have an exact date, for the November meeting. He will be done. Huey is still hanging on, and, he says, he kinda wants to see how the winter goes. And what he means by that is not if it's an easy winter. If it's a tough winter, he wants to stay around and work. If it's, if he's gonna work through November. But we're short, we got some new guys, and if it turns into a winter where it would make sense to have a guy in that 9th blade and 3 plow trucks going, he said he would work longer into maybe even the beginning of 25. But he is 65 and he is ready to retire. And then the mowing ditches. I haven't seen, is there a gentleman coming in today? Is he on the agenda?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. So, last Tuesday was not a day that anybody wanted to be around me, especially poor Boone, because poor Boone got the brunt of it from me. We were mowing ditches, and we have been mowing ditches the last couple of years, and it did not go well last Tuesday. It went fine. In fact, personally, I don't think we did any damage to any ditch, but we had a landowner that was very, very frustrated because we made a pass in our county right-of-way ditch. And he let me hear it. There was a 4-minute and 10-second phone conversation. The first 2 minutes was all him. The next minute was me, and the last minute was us yelling at each other, and it did not go well. Boone came out and looked. I was out in mowing ditches that night till almost 8 o'clock. If we drove by right now, you would not even know we mowed the ditches. But the whole issue is we left dead grass in the ditch.
Typically, you mow all the county roads, don't you?
We have for the last 3 years. We make a pass along the top 12, 14 feet, just to make sure it's short. This gentleman takes pride in his ditches and thought that, I think it was more so of a pride that one of our county tractor was in the ditch. His words were to stay out of these ditches. They are our right-of-way ditches.
They're not his.
That's right.
Anyway.
But,
He was still hot the next morning.
Oh, yeah.
He drove in my yard and let me have it again.
let Boone have it. Yeah.
Whatever.
But he didn't get on the agenda, so he must be over it. We're gonna continue to mow. We haven't got one complaint in 3 years, except this one for mowing. We're going along the top of the road with our batwing mower and a rental tractor. We bought the mower and we use the rental tractor. It's what the state does. You see it all the time. And we're trying to make a pass along the top and maybe even a second pass a little lower to try to prevent, get a nice mowing job.
Issue. It's our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so, Boone didn't wanna be around me, and I don't blame him last Tuesday night, I was hot. Yeah, but anyway, other than that, you guys got any questions for me?
So, I think Jason's here, and you can stay, so.
So with this year with wet, are trees being a problem yet?
Yeah, we plan on pulling a few more trees out of right of ways. We got a few that have grown in there. We've taken actually a few down, pulled them out and trimmed them off, but,
Are you talking county roads or township roads?
county, we don't do anything with township, that's township.
No, I know that, but the reason I'm asking that is, some of these township people are gonna probably be getting a hold of you because they want you to say it. And so I'm just letting you know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not the county's responsibility to notify any landowners in the township that they have trees in the right of way.
Right, Brent shouldn't have to be the bad
I
guy.
know.
telling
That's
these
the
guys,
game.
Yeah. They don't wanna be the bad guy, they want
I
you
know,
to be
so
the
they
bad
tell
guy.
you to do it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
That's not right.
But, other than that, it's just business as usual for this time of year.
All right, Jason, you're up, or either one of you are up.
Yeah,
Kent or
Yeah.
Jason, here.
Rick, bring your chair up.
Morning,
Yep.
morning.
Come on here.
Sorry, I fell asleep in my recliner last night watching an exciting baseball game when you texted me.
Hope everybody's safe. Thanks for the invite, by the way. Yeah, appreciate that.
So I guess I'm just gonna give you a quick project update on the east end of County Road 5. We've gotten the process started, we've got Beaver Creek ready to roll as far as doing the cultural and environmental work, so we're hoping to see them out here in the next few weeks to get that done before the white flurries fly, I guess. We've started the design, gotten pretty far into that already, so, I guess as of now, we're looking at a grade raise of a little less than 2 feet at the most, I guess, is what we're looking at, but that should be more than enough to get the road out of the water, and then we're doing a 40-foot road top, which is kind of the standard now. I believe Bremen, we did 38 foot, so it'll be just a hair wider than that with, for the one-inch slopes, so.
We will have to extend those two pipes then in the slope, correct?
Absolutely, yeah, I actually have the links here. The existing pipe, one is about 60 feet and the other one approximately 48 feet, and I'm looking at, 100 feet on the one and 105 feet on the other. So, we'll have to discuss whether we're extending those or replacing them altogether. I mean, when you're talking almost twice as much length, it almost makes sense to probably.
There was a 2 new pipe we just put in.
But they're new, right?
Is there any other place to put those?
Well, I mean, if we can find a place for them, if we pull them out, if they're taken out properly, the water board will find a place for them.
We can extend them as well, it's just cost-wise, kind of assuming we might be looking at similar costs to take it out and put a new one in versus.
Oh, really?
Well, just because of the extra work that it's gonna take for them to add on to what's there. We're gonna look a little better at what kind of shape.
You just can't take a little motorboat out there and plop one down and bolt them together.
I mean, either way, we're gonna be putting a lot of dirt in there, so. So I would assume we wanna do extensions, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Well, I just, I was unaware of, obviously how far we had to extend.
Yeah.
We're talking 20 feet on each side, in some places 30 feet on each side.
Right.
So,
It's substantial.
But if you guys don't have a place for those elsewhere,
No,
then
they don't.
then I would say we do extensions, and if
I
we
would
have
say
to,
do extensions.
the water board maybe would use them. I think they're 60-inch pipe, correct?
yep. So. No, we'll plan for extensions on this, so. But yeah, that road's gonna look a lot different when we get done with this, so.
There are two smaller pipe, so the 2-foot grade raise, is that basically just through the slough area and then tapering off towards Hamburg, correct?
Yeah, so the grade rate starts that fur trail on the west side, about 100 feet west of theirs actually.
Okay.
It starts, and then it ends right before the gun range
Right.
approach.
Okay, yep. So,
And it's not 2 feet all the way across,
Right.
obviously, but
so you're talking probably between 1/2 and 3/4 of a mile of that 1.5 miles. That's
1800 feet.
1,800,
Uh,
a third of a mile.
Yeah, it's not even a half.
Because the one question that I have is further to the east, there's 2 24-inch pipes that are underneath the road. And I think, obviously, those 2 pipes should be replaced. Was that something that the contractor would do, or is that something that the county?
I was assuming we would replace, well, that's the question for you guys.
Yeah.
I was assuming we would replace some of the center line.
Yeah, I think there's only 2, and they're small pipe. They're both to the east of the gun range.
Yeah.
And I have to go down and measure, but I think they're 24. If